wonderful.
Joining us now, Bret Baier from Fox News. Bret, you just heard that. We were told that 30 million people didn't have health insurance, and that's why Obamacare was so necessary. And on day one, you'd think people were clamoring. They only turned 6 into new recipients of health care. How damaging is this?
It's damaging. I mean, it's a big, big problem. And, you wonder why we couldn't, for the past couple of weeks, get an answer about the number of enrollments. I mean, you heard the questions to Secretary Sebelius at that hearing, and she said we don't have accurate data.
Well, they've asked.
We will.
They've asked in the briefing room. They've asked in congressional hearings. Every time you get a chance to ask a question of Obama officials, this has been a normal, regular question that any good reporter would ask, and they just, we're gonna give you those next month when we have some better figures. We don't really have those figures. Well, clearly they did have the figures, and the reason they didn't want to release them was it was completely embarrassing.
Well, that's right, and it's going to be embarrassing, and it may be less embarrassing than it was, but it's still going to be embarrassing. The numbers, by all estimates, are going to be really, really rough.
Right, but
go ahead.
But Bret, beyond the beltway politics of it, and Republicans possibly feeling a little bit of Schadenfreude here, seeing Democrats squirm with these bad results, there are some very real economic impacts here for the American people, because they need 7 million people to sign up between now and March 1st to make the targets for the actuarial tables to actually keep health insurance affordable for the rest of us. If they don't hit those marks, we're going to have a serious problem with health insurance costs next year.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think there's going to be some question whether that's going to happen anyway, but you're right. If it doesn't, if the marks aren't hit, and there are so many aspects to this. I mean, some of these states are reporting that high percentages, up to 84%, for example, in Washington State, are Medicaid enrollees. So they're Medicaid, which doesn't really, in the big picture of things, get everyone in the economic balance for these insurance exchanges to work. And if you have a lot of people signing up for Medicaid, you run into issues about doctors, about coverage. Some doctors are getting out of the business because they're not getting paid. They're getting paid 10, 20 cents on the dollar for Medicaid.
Can I swing over to one of the other aspects of Obamacare beyond the website? The president really seemed to take some hits this week with regard to his guarantee, the guarantee he made that if you like your insurance, you can keep it. And, of course, people are now discovering that their insurance companies have dropped their plan because it didn't comply with the Obamacare regulations. How damaging is this? And did he succeed? He tried to spin away from this and say, oh, you misunderstood me. How successful was he at spinning away?
I don't think that's successful. It's important to point out that the Wall Street Journal NBC poll that has him down, the approval rating down to 42%, his lowest, was taken really before the dust-up of the credibility of that pitch.
Yeah.
Remember that pitch was made again and again and again, and I have to ask my friend Mark Knoller at the White House for CBS, who has a great list of all things presidential, how many healthcare speeches the president made. But I would say it was over at least 50 to 100.
Well, it was every time he got near a microphone.
Yeah, and so he said you can keep your insurance no matter what. In fact, in February at the Healthcare Summit, he went so far as to say you can keep your insurance if you have the Acme catastrophic, high deductible plan. You can keep that if you want. The problem is that there are documents now showing that HHS, after the law was passed, that just was not true. And they knew it wasn't true. And, yet after that, the president continued to use that line. I think it is a problem. They can say that you have a better opportunity and you can shop for better plans and you may get subsidies, but you may not. And the bottom line is that when he said you can keep your plan, period, it should have been a comma.
Yeah.
You can keep your plan, comma, if we like your plan.
Yeah. So many
that's not
times. I'm sorry, Brett. So many times in Washington, when somebody says, "Well, that guy was lying," well, you know what? When you really look at the facts, there's a lot of gray there. You can look at it different ways, and it's never clear cut that it was an out and out, bald faced lie. It was a topic that was, perhaps subject to interpretation. In this particular case, he was saying you can keep it, period. And at that very same time, there were documents. There were documents that were in effect that, as they were writing the policies, it said, no, you won't. We now know that a good number of people are going to lose their insurance. They knew it as they were writing the regulations, yet they continued to say it.
Yeah. It's about as close to a clear cut. They know this is not true, and yet they're continuing to let the president say this as anything. President Bush had 16 words in the State of the Union address about yellow cake. And you remember that?
Yes, I do remember.
Huge dust up. And the administration explained where the intelligence was coming from and explained all of it, but they had numerous stories about those 16 words. Mark Thiessen, I think, former speechwriter, said that he counted out, and these are 16 words for President Obama.
Oh.
Well, something to watch.
So Obama lied. Your health insurance died.
That's right. Well, that's your subject.
That's my interpretation.
We won't
Brett.
make Brett assign any responsibility.
Thank you for that.
Have a good weekend.
Thanks, Brett. Always a pleasure.